One of these times I want to replace our intro song with the Mary Tyler Moore song. I don't know why. Oh, hello everybody. Welcome to Respawn Aim Fire episode 209. We are the kick-ass irreverent gaming podcast brought to you by Affable Idiots. I am one of your hosts, Chad Michaelinis. We have on the other side of the screen, if you're watching visually over at twitch.tv/AffableIdiots right now, Holden Popeye's Chicken Sandwich DePardo.
I mean, Chick-fil-A sandwiches are better, but Popeyes, it's close. It's close.
I seem to remember a time not too long ago where you claimed that Popeye's chicken sandwich was better than Chick-fil-A sandwich.
No, I said it might be, and then I've gone back and forth, and I've settled on it's close.
Well,
it's close.
You should be flattered that I called you the Popeye's chicken sandwich, assuming that it was your favorite.
I wasn't hurt by it. I'm not like, oh my God, second place by like a little bit. Oh no. I'm fine.
You are a second place sandwich. We also have with us here, joining us for the first time on an Affable Idiots podcast, we have Jeff Walker. Hello, Jeff.
Hello.
Jeff, you are a fan of the show, which makes me a fan of you. Awesome. Thank you so much for being a lifelong friend.
Thank you.
You also have a show that you do and content that you work on, and I would love for you to let the people know. How do people get in touch with you and learn about what you do?
Yes, I do have my own podcast. It is called The Pokemon Snapshot, where one of my best friends, Tyler, and we are chronologically going through the Pokemon anime. So we do an episode a week, and we'll be hitting the movies and everything like that. You can find it on any of your podcasting networks, Apple, Google. You can also find us on Twitter at Pokemon Snapshot, or you can find myself on Twitter at Ransrick. And then also, I also help a co-host of the EFG show on Engage Family Gaming on Twitch on Thursday nights.
We know them. That's awesome. How appropriate that you do a Pokemon podcast, and this weekend, Pokemon Snap came out.
It's almost like I planned that to be on this week.
Oh my gosh.
The
whole world.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, we're hoping Pokemon Snap, people searching for that, will bring our podcast up. It hasn't helped yet.
We'll drive as much traffic as we can. Every tweet from here, the next 5 weeks that I tweet about Pokemon Snap will be tagging Pokemon Snapshot as well.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to be talking about a lot today, including Pokemon Snapshot, but, this doesn't really work whenever I bring up the topic of the show right off the bat. Well, pretend I didn't talk about Pokemon Snap. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 3. We're going to be talking about Ripley's Believe It or Not, EA Wants to Make Money, and a lot more, but we're actually going to jump into Pokemon Snap right off the bat. The world has come full circle. Pokemon Snap from N64 has made its way now to new Pokemon Snap on Nintendo Switch. I've played it. Jeff has played it. Holden has not played it. Let's get into our impressions. I would love to start by just a little bit of a history. What is your history with Pokemon Snap? Holden, go. Do you have anything with the N64 version?
No.
All right.
I'm going to be such a great voice in this particular segment with no experience with the new or old version of Pokemon Snap.
Perfect. Jeff, what's your history with Pokemon Snap specifically?
I never owned the original back in the day. I played it at a friend's house, and I rented it, so that's about it. I never played it as much. I've probably now played new Pokemon Snap more than I've played the original Pokemon Snap.
I'm kind of in your same exact boat. I played Pokemon Snap as a rental from Blockbuster twice. I rented it 2 times. I believe I got through it and beat it. But I don't think I know a single person in my life that has owned Pokemon Snap. It's also not a topic of conversation that comes up very often. But we do own the new one. I'm about 2.5 hours in, 2 hours maybe. I've been through the first 2 locations, day and night on both. But it sounds like there's a lot more for me to explore because you are much further in the game. Jeff, tell me about your experience with it so far.
Yeah, I think I'm maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours. I don't know. I don't keep track. But I'm about 6 or 7 locations, and the game is gorgeous. It is what probably 10-year-old me thought the original Pokemon Snap looked like.
Right.
I love seeing the Pokemon just interacting with each other, and one of the cool things that a lot of the levels do is there's a story that plays out through the level. So, one of the earlier levels, you have a Grookey and a Pichu running through, and they're at every different part of this level as you go on, and they're just chasing each other. So, I am really enjoying it, and it's been really nice because my wife, who doesn't play video games, we've actually been playing on the TV and taking turns because she's really been enjoying it.
Have you played it both handheld and on the TV? I've only played it on the TV.
So, I just played a handheld. Actually, right before I got on, I did a couple runs. It still looks good. I mean, I'm not huge into, like, it has to be 1080p or whatever, so I still think it looks nice. And honestly, people were talking about some parts of it chugging along. The only real big section, there is a part where a whale lord comes out of your screen onto the screen, and it goes down to maybe like 10 frames a second. But besides that, no, it looks great either way.
I agree with you. I think that it does. It looks really, really great. It's that Nintendo. I mean, technically, it's not Nintendo, but it's that Nintendo quality on like a lower performing hardware. Where somehow they just pull a lot out of the lower technology that they've got available to them. As I mentioned, I've only played it on the TV, and I've played with both the regular standard controls on the I have two Joy-Cons, standard controls, and I've also turned on motion controls. And I think I prefer motion controls with the Joy-Cons, but I'm curious in handheld. I feel like it's weird because you control the camera with just moving the right Joy-Con up, down, left, right, whatever it is. But I feel like if it were handheld, you might be able to like actually just move the switch and take a picture, almost like you're in an augmented reality type thing.
Yeah, I have not tried with motion controls yet, so
I'm excited to try that out.
Especially since we were playing with my daughter, who's 5. I didn't think she'd get it as well, so I thought use the controller, which she still didn't get. So you're just taking pictures of the sky.
But there are birds in the sky. There are all sorts of different birds up there. One of the things that
there are a lot of birds, and I think that's one thing I did like about the game. It gives some love to like lesser known Pokemon.
Yeah. It's these Pokemon that I didn't. There are some of them that I don't even recognize in there. There's still a couple of generations that I haven't played. Basically, anything that's not in Pokemon Go or that's not in the most recent generation, I have no idea what it is. But yeah, there's a lot of things in there that I've never been exposed to, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of adorable, or oh my gosh, that thing is ugly as hell.
Yeah, and same here. It's like once I hit Generation 3, I've played all except for Generation 5. That is a blind spot because we were talking before we got on that was in college. I couldn't buy a lot of games and a lot of new games in college because I was poor. But once I hit Generation 3, it's a hit or a miss if I know what generation a Pokemon comes from.
Yeah, have you found that? Do you know off the top of your head whether all of the Pokemon are represented in this game, or is it just like a subsection of everything?
I know they announced over 200. I doubt all. A lot of people are saying that Galar isn't very well represented, and that could be because this game was in production at the same time that Sword and Shield were.
Yeah.
And DLC.
But they've said over 200, and yeah, Colton, it is perfect for DLC, and I'm hoping they come out with DLC. I think it could be great, give us a few new worlds or, introduce more Pokemon that weren't originally in the game.
Yeah, and I think it would be pretty easy to do, since it's already broken up into like locations that you don't necessarily like go from location to location. You just like pick a spot on the map How easy it would it be to say, all right, here's a brand new location. It's tropical or it's underwater, and you just warp right there. And so I think you're right. It could be a really great DLC Nintendo game, which is not very common, unfortunately. But as far as the game goes itself, I'm having a really great time with it. I think what I'm seeing across the internet that I kind of agree with is it is N64 Pokemon Snap just on Switch and with updated graphics, and it's exactly that. So if you weren't a fan of that experience on N64, you're not going to be a fan of that experience on Switch. But I think it's really cool to kind of see these Pokemon in their element and seeing them interacting with each other and seeing like a Grookey and a Pichu asleep underneath, I forget the name of the giant turtle one from
Torterra.
Yes, Torterra. Underneath the little Torterra, I think is adorable. Have you Jeff, done any of the, like, I know it's weird to think of this as a photo mode in a photo game, but where you can go back and like reframe your shots that you liked best and put filters on them and stuff like that. Have you done any of that?
I have not. I am not creative with something like that, so no.
I was actually surprised to see the mode in there. It was after at the very end of the level, you get a chance to say, all right, which photos do I want to save? Which photos do I want to discard? But then you can go back through them and you can say, all right, I like what was in this photo, but I don't like how I framed it, or that they were off center or whatever it might be. And you can actually just like reframe it, remove the camera. You can
I did mess with that. Like, if a Pokemon's not center, it was so cool that you could just move the camera so the Pokemon was the center of the camera, and it didn't like cut off the corners. It just moved where your camera was.
Yeah, as if you were just like back in the engine in the level to begin with. So I'm having a really fun time with it. I will definitely keep playing it. I feel like this is going to be a game that I pick up in short spurts whenever I'm like, oh, I don't have a meeting for another 15 minutes and I can't start anything else. Might as well just play through a level or whatever it might be. Are you enjoying it? This is your first time since you've actually owned a Pokemon Snap game. Are you enjoying it?
I am. I guess I do have a few nitpicks with it. It's very vague on how you like what you're supposed to do to unlock the next level. So it's like I have like 5 levels open and it's like, oh, you still need to do this, but it didn't tell me what level to go to. Or there's still something to explore, like one of the levels is under the sea. It's like there's still something to explore under the sea, but it didn't tell me what I was looking for, and I went through the level and didn't see anything special. Also, I don't think it has, like in the original Pokemon Snap, one of the more iconic scenes is you throw an apple or fluff fruit, whatever they called it then, at a Charmeleon and it falls into a volcano and evolves into Charizard. I haven't seen anything like that yet. So, but I'm really enjoying it. I plan on at least getting through the end. I guess the only other nitpick I have is, like, for each Pokemon to unlock their full Pokedex entry, you have to get a 1, 2, 3, and 4 star.
Yeah.
Rating. So you have to get 4 pictures of each, but it doesn't tell you what Pokemon, how you get each rating. And say you're taking pictures of a Pikachu and it's your first time and you get a 1, 2, and a 3 star, you can only take one of those in, which is kind of annoying. So, and then sometimes they don't make sense. Like I had a 3 star and you could barely see a Pokemon. And then I had a picture. Yeah, then I had a picture where I'm like, oh, it's so cool. It's like I'm looking through the brush, and then it goes, no, you can't use that picture. The Pokemon's unavailable. You can't see it. So
I had one too where I'm like, it told me it was a picture of Grookey, and I'm like, Grookey's nowhere in this picture. There's some grass, there's like one of those buffalo things, and there is no Grookey. But it's like, yeah, this is a 2-star picture of Grookey. It's like, what are you talking about?
I had one of those with Metapod. I took the picture, I look over at my wife, I'm like, do you see Metapod in this picture? I didn't even know Metapod was on that stage.
It's camouflaging as a defense technique against predators. It's just trying to protect itself.
And then again, where it's so vague, it's like, I think it was like a 2 star, and I'm like, how do I get a 4-star picture of this Metapod? It doesn't move.
Yeah, because you have to usually get them to like do something and like do their action in order to get higher stars on it. And then it's like, what do you do with the Metapod?
That's so frustrating, especially for like 100% completionists.
Yeah,
You can't even go to a guide online. Is there a guide online that?
I'm sure someone will have one. But there is one way. So they have these, like, I don't know, achievements or special photos they want you to take. So, like, one of them, they told me, you know, oh, I want you to it'd be so cool to see a Pelipper eating something or swooping down. And so when I'm in, like, this beach level, I throw one of my fluff fruit into the ocean and the Pelipper swoops down. I got a picture as it was swooping down. And then that unlocked so I think those are how you're supposed to find out how the 4 stars pictures are.
I didn't even realize those were a thing until I was like literally about to log off. I'm like, cool, I'm done with it. Wait a minute, what's that little flashing thing up with the Y button? Yeah. And then I was like, what? There are all of these picture challenges in there? Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know, have you unlocked the luminous orbs yet?
No.
Okay, so they give you these orbs that make Pokemon glow, and you're like, what? Like, it's cool, but it's like, I throw it at Pokemon, they glow green. Is that supposed to make a better picture? I don't know. Because I did one, it was like 3 stars, and then I did it to another one, and it was a cool picture because it was like nighttime, the Pokemon was glowing green, it was a Lycanroc, and then it's like 1 star. So...
Yeah, sometimes they don't make sense. They'll be like, this is a 2-star picture, and then like the Pokemon's not even in it, and then like something you get is amazing, and it's like, oh, this is 1 star. Oh, I have a question for you. You might know this by the time that you've reached 11th world on this thing. I haven't noted. There's the star system, 1, 2, 3, 4 stars, but then there's also like a bronze 1 star, there's a silver 1 star, and a gold 1 star as well.
Yeah.
I haven't really realized like why. Like no matter what, it counts as the 1-star picture.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think that's just so there's like, and I don't know, I heard someone say platinum, but I'm like, but you can't really tell, is it platinum or silver?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's one above gold. The colors are so similar and it doesn't name them. It's based on your points. Each picture is given a point. So like, I'm going through and I have a gold 1 star and then a bronze 4 star, so the 1 star picture has more points to it.
So points is not how many stars. Confusing. So stars is basically what's going on in the picture.
Yeah.
And then points
and once you get is just another arbitrary rating system.
Okay.
And once you get all 4 pictures for a Pokemon, it unlocks their Pokedex entry.
Yeah, it's just as confusing
as you think. That is unbelievably confusing. Yeah. Because at first I'm thinking, 4 stars, like, it's like a movie review. This movie was 3 out of 5 stars, but I can't imagine a movie review being like, the first star of this 3-star rating is gold, but the second star is a bronze gold star, and then so it's 3 stars out of 5 with a bronze, silver, and gold star in there. I'd be like, what are you talking about, Siskel?
Yep. What does it all mean?
Well, oh, sorry. And that's the thing is, like, we got this game. I'm like, oh, my daughter will love to play this. A couple weeks ago, got her and my wife a Switch Lite to share because she's getting more into games, but she's still not there. And I'm like, this be perfect. There's so much text that when she was watching me play, she goes, why do they keep talking?
Yes. It made me think about, like, the parts of Sword and Shield that I didn't like. It was like, I just want to play the game, and all they're doing is talking to me every 10 steps. And then it's the same thing with
There's voice acting at some point, which was weird.
Yeah, so lots of text, lots of reading in this game. But, you know, at her age, that's when I feel like I started, maybe it was a year or 2 after that, when I picked up Pokemon, and that's really what kind of helped me start reading, too. It was just all the text that I had to learn.
Pokemon for me didn't come out till I was already 10, so...
When was it? When did it come to the States? 96, 97? 98. Okay, I guess I was 8
98.
years old then.
Okay.
And I probably didn't have it the first year, so it was probably 99. So I was 9 years old. All right, maybe I was just a kid who didn't know how to read until I was 9. Awesome. Okay, so that's any last thoughts on Pokemon Snap before we wrap up?
No, I think that's all I had.
All right. Let's jump into playtime, where we talk about what we've played each week. Holden, since you had so much to say last time, I would love to hear everything about what you've played this week.
Final Fantasy IX, which we're talking about later on. Chad, what did you play? Jeffrey, what did you play? Anyone else go?
Actually, Jeffrey, you know what? You're playing Control. I would love to hear about your impressions of Control.
Yeah, so I specifically skipped your barf on Control because I was going... So I wanted to play it when it came to Xbox Game Pass. And then... So I started it up, and one thing I did not like about it when it was on Game Pass was I felt like every time I went in and out of a menu, it like chugged down to like 5 frames a second.
Yup.
Like, it was annoying. So then they announced the Ultimate Edition coming to PS5, and then coming to PlayStation Plus, and at that time I was trying to get a PlayStation 5. And so then when I did get a PlayStation 5, I'm like, yeah, we're not playing it on Game Pass. I'm going to wait to play the PS5 version, and it's amazing. It does not drop down to 5 frames a second coming out of the menu, which wasn't... like, I only played an hour of it, and I knew how annoying it is, because with Control, there's so many different things you want to go into the menu and read. You're in the menu almost as much time as you're out of the menu. And so it was annoying that every time I went to the menu, it would just, like, stop, have to figure out when we can start moving again and go. But no, I really enjoyed it. I actually rolled credits on it this afternoon. Now,
yes!
I do want to be fair. I like the story and everything. Being, as I've already said, being a father, you do not have as much time to play games, so I definitely played in easy mode just to experience it. I have it to 1-hit kills and no deaths, just because I want to experience the story and not have to struggle. Because, you know, a game like that I can only play after my daughter goes to bed.
Yeah.
So I only have maybe 2 hours a night. So I just flip those sliders up, which is great. All the accessibility it allows, but I loved it. I want there to be more.
Spoilers for the conversation, if you end up going back and listening to the Barf episode, that's how I played it the second time too. It's just 1-hit kills and just go through and re-experience the story again too.
Well, yeah, and sometimes it's, as I say, it's fun just running around being a badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When you're playing on easy. Like, I did the same thing when I played... Well, Horizon Zero Dawn, I got through like 75% of the game, and then I got to the point where I just wanted to finish it, so I turned it on story mode. Then I'm just like going around just destroying these metal dinosaurs with no issue, and sometimes it's just awesome feeling that way.
It's the best way to play that game. The story mode. I had to do the same thing. I had to go to story mode in Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't know. Combat, not a big fan of the combat in that game, but I like the story.
Yeah, and you know, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, there's no way I would have too much, you know, I would never slide something to easy. No, I'm too good for that. But now that I have a family and my gaming time is so precious, I'm just like, nope, I don't have time to struggle.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So you're a big
Unless
Dark
I know
Souls
it's a
fan
game.
then.
Yeah, no, I hate Dark Souls. Yeah, nope. When I got my PS5, he tried to tell me about it, and I'm like, I know. That's also kind of funny when I go into a GameStop to get what I want. They're trying to mansplain what's going on, and it's like, I know what games are out. I write a release list for Engage Family Gaming every week.
Yeah, speaking of easy mode being the best way to play things, Returnal is what I've been playing this week, and it is not easy at all. It is a very difficult game. I would actually liken it to Dark Souls. It's a lot like Dark Souls. But I am in love with this game, you guys. I am so in love with Returnal. It's all I think about now over the last couple of days. It's just like, how do I get back in? How do I avoid my family and instead play Returnal? How do I not go to sleep and instead play Returnal? So, it's a game that there are a couple of amazing things about it. The first is that it is built for PS5. It is obviously a PS5 exclusive, so it is from the ground up built for the console. It's from Housemarque, which has a really great close relationship with Sony. But the intro cinematic of watching Celine, not Celine Dion, although just as magnificent, watching Celine crash land on this planet, the haptics in the controller... I told Dallas, we were all playing this on chat, and we were all playing it at the same time, and the haptics in the controller tell the story so well, like from the engines blowing, and you can feel the plane as it enters the atmosphere, and you can feel every time she flicks a switch on the inside of the board, and you could literally like not even be watching what's going on the screen, and you could tell what's going on just from the feeling in the controller. It's amazing. And I told them, I was like, if they release just the intro cinematic as a demo and let people feel the controller just while watching that cinematic, so many people would buy this game just because of it. So I love that. I love the power of the PS5. It looks freaking gorgeous. It is the game that when someone comes over and you say, "Oh my God, you got a PS5? What should I play on it?" You're like, let me boot up Returnal and show you what a wonderful time you can have getting smashed in the face over and over. But it is a roguelite game, which I am normally not a fan of. And that was my big hesitation going into it. I was like, man, it looks great. It looks like you're fighting Dark Souls bosses, and but I'm just not a rogue like game person. But I went into it, and it is roguelite, but it's also you are accumulating unlockables as you go. You are able to pick up different types of weapons as you kind of get them. You're getting upgrades. It's kind of a little bit like Metroid, where you're running through these levels and different biomes, they call them. And there are doors I can't access yet. Or there are obviously platforms up there with little things on them. I don't know how to get up there. But I know later in the game I'm going to get a tool that allows me to come back here and reach those areas and traverse and access new areas a little bit easier. So it's got a little bit of Metroidvania type stuff in there with that as well. And it's the combat of it. It feels so fluid. I can't really think of another game where the movement feels as good as you're kind of dodging and jumping, and it's obviously the same. Housemarque, the creators of the game, are the same ones who made Resogun and Vex Machina, or Nex Machina. I can never remember which one it is. Nex Machina, I think. And they're used to making these arcadey bullet hell shooter style games. And so with the enemy attack patterns and all of the different attacks that they have, it is very much still avoid all of the orbs, avoid all of the, like, they hit the ground and big old shockwaves come out. So I'm loving this game. The thing that gets me so scared about it has that Dark Souls risk-reward to it, where you get to the end of a level and there's a boss, and you beat the boss, and you go on to the next level. But if you die in level 2, you start back at the beginning of level 1. And you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go back all the way through that. You don't have to beat the boss again. You can still just work your way back to level 2 by not beating the boss. But there's like... I'm now all the way through the end on this single run. I'm all the way through the end of the third world, and I've played it for like probably 2 hours on this run. And if I die, I know I'm going all the way back to the beginning of 1. I'm like, oh my God. So there's that high like risk that you run into with Dark Souls. But the bosses are, if you can read their movesets and their patterns, just like Dark Souls, they're difficult. But I feel like if you have the right setup and the right loadout going in, which of course is randomized because it's a roguelite, then I feel like you can make your way through it pretty easily. As long as you are like completely 100% sucked in and not distracted or anything like that. You don't have kids running around saying, "Daddy, Daddy, I'm thirsty. Daddy, stop playing video games." But it's amazing. I can't wait. I think I'm almost about halfway through the game. I've read that it's like 10 to 30 hours depending on how good you are at it. And I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 hours in. So I'm pumped. I freaking love it a lot more than I thought it would. It is probably my game of the year this year so far, although I know there's a lot of good stuff like Horizon and God of War 2 coming out this year. So It's awesome. That's all I have to say about that.
There's one thing that I think Brent was saying this in our group chat that really interests me, and it's a small thing. It's not like a huge gameplay thing, but it's that when you turn the game back on again, rather than going to a menu screen, it just starts the opening cutscene of the story again, and you're just back in the game. And that's really cool for me because I remember back when they were first talking about the SSD, and one of the things I was kind of saying, like, what I wanted from this next generation was I would like to just open a game and then it just start the game. Kind of like when you start a movie, it just starts the movie. You don't have to like look at a menu or something like that. You can just watch the movie, and it's so cool that like that's already happening. And that's really, really awesome to me. I know it's such a small little thing that doesn't actually like matter because it's like what the first 30 seconds of your gaming experience is being that title screen menu than being in the game. But I think that's a really cool touch.
And when you die,
I'm
it's
super
that same
pumped to
way
play
as
this.
well. Like you die, you see your body fall to the ground, and then it's immediately ship coming in. Boom, you're on the first world again. You're like, fuck! It happens that quick.
Yeah, that's that super sexy drive. I'm super pumped
drive.
to play this. If only there wasn't so much coming out right now, I would be getting this game. Resident Evil 7, or not 7, Resident Evil Village. Can't wait for Resident Evil 7 to come out. Just can't wait to time travel back a few years and play that for the first time.
I was going to say, should we tell him?
Like the 8th one's coming out. Like, get ready for that. And then Mass Effect. There's just too much, but I can't wait to find some time at some point this year to like jump into that game because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, Mass Effect comes out at the end of this month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for that
Wait,
either.
is Mass Effect really
Ratchet
the end
and
of the
Clank.
month?
Yeah.
I thought it was like the second week or something like that. Okay. Got a
I can't wait for Ratchet and Clank. That's the game I'm waiting for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was not interested
so
in Ratchet and
pumped.
Clank. We'll talk about it in a little bit, I think. But I was not interested in Ratchet and Clank until
No,
the
I
State of
totally
Play.
forgot to put that in the show note. When we get to Sony, we'll just talk about it. I can't believe
Let's
I forgot
move into
about
our
that.
Sony Quest log. So our Sony Quest log.
I mean, we could,
are. I mean, that's the next thing on the docket. State of Play this week, and it was a Ratchet and Clank focused State of Play with, for some reason, a 2-minute trailer for what was it, Subnautica Below Zero or something like that. And then the rest of it was Ratchet and Clank themed. I was like, why is Subnautica even there?
And Among Us.
Yeah, there's the
But
Among Us
Among
with
Us
the
had the Ratchet
cool
DLC. So
the cool Clank outfit and the really weird looking Ratchet outfit. It looked
well, the
very
Clank's
out
not
of
an
place to
outfit.
me.
Clank is a pet. You can have
Well,
pets.
whatever.
In Among Us.
He looked better. Ratchet was just like an Among Us person with Ratchet ears, and it just looked really weird to me. I was not a fan of that.
But yeah, they showed off 15 or 17. There was some amount of teens of minutes of Ratchet and Clank shown off. It was, for me, pretty transformational. I was transformed from a person who had no interest in Ratchet and Clank, who had never been a part of that game franchise, had never had any kind of experience with it, to someone who is now like, whoa, that game looks really, really beautiful. The ray tracing in it, the lighting, the effect of him pulling the rift to me instead of me going to the rift made me want to throw up, and it was wonderful. I'm now very excited and very into this game, whereas I wasn't before I saw this video. Jeff, did you watch the State of Play?
Yeah, and going into that, just to let you know that Ratchet and Clank was the game that I decided I needed to have a PlayStation 5 before this game came out, because I needed to play this game. And I mean, I was hyped. I'm still hyped. I love the Ratchet and Clank series. And it looked gorgeous. My wife, who, as I said, doesn't play video games, but she was like, look at me. I'm like, look, you can see like all his hairs, and look, Clank is shiny. She's like, why do you care about that? I go, it looks awesome. One thing I am concerned about is going from rift to rift. Like, how are you going to be disoriented trying to figure out where you are, and how do you choose where it rifts you to? So, but I'm sure that'll, like, it looks confusing. And that happens to me a lot. You know, I'll find gameplay look confusing, but then once you actually play, like, oh, it's not as hard as it seems.
I have a feeling those are going to be really scripted too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see there. My question was the riffs. Kind of one of the things I liked about at least the PS4 version of Ratchet and Clank, was getting in your ship, and I know it's like a loading screen, but like getting your ship and flying to different planets, and that kind of like element of exploration in that way. There's something about like sci-fi and that kind of type of sci-fi where like the ship is important to me, and like jumping into the ship. And are we just not going to have a spaceship this time because you're jumping from portal to portal? Presumably, you can go to different planets that way.
There's
too.
got to be some kind of toll that it takes on Ratchet, and like he slowly is withering away and dying every time he uses a rift. So like to be
that is
safe,
so dark for Ratchet and Clank.
to be safe, you got to use the ship and only use the rifts when necessary.
I mean, there was a point in the demo where he said, "I need to get a ship to get off world" or something like that. So maybe let's do ships. That's a small thing, though. I agree. It is so fucking gorgeous looking. I actually went online to find comparison videos for the PS4 and PS5 versions of Ratchet and Clank, and it is a night and day difference. I know because of a cartoon art style, it might be easy to say, "Oh, I'm sure Ratchet and PS4 looked, pretty comparable." Not at all. Like, it is amazing how much different those games look, but still retains that kind of cartoony art style while still having unbelievably good textures, unbelievably good lighting. I can't wait, because that'll probably be my first like made for PS 5 game that's a brand new game, and not Demon's Souls, which was a remake, and even though that was a pretty amazing looking game too.
I can tell you remember when we were watching this together, and you were like, "Oh my god, the sound of all the little nuts and bolts as they fly to you." You're like, I could eat all that all day. That's exactly how you said it too. You went, playing Returnal, after you kill somebody, you get like weapon proficiency, and it's those little tiny little things, and they bounce towards you, and you can feel every one of them in the controller. I guarantee you the nuts and bolts in Ratchet and Clank are going to do the same thing, and it feels so good. I'm just like,
That makes me so happy, because it's already so satisfying in Ratchet and Clank when you hit a box and all the little nuts and bolts come into you anyway with just the sound. So with feeling it, I can't wait. I'm so pumped.
It's going to be so
And the
good.
guns look cool too. The only thing is they're missing the Groovatron.
I'm sure
the
there's
best.
going to be something even better than the Groovatron in there.
We'll find out.
How have we not talked about Rivet? Rivet was a big, like a couple of days beforehand, they revealed that it was Jennifer Hale, and then she was, they revealed her name for the first time. Like, we actually know about this Lombax a little bit more. She has Clank. She has a hammer instead of a wrench, which is so much cooler. Like, are you guys pumped to play as Rivet?
Yeah, I don't think any Ratchet and Clank have, besides playing as Clank, you haven't played as another, like, person like Ratchet. You haven't played as another character besides Ratchet or Clank, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that kind of the story dynamic there of, it seems like, to Ratchet's perspective, Rivet is an enemy, because Rivet stole Clank, but it doesn't seem like that's the dynamic between Clank and Rivet exactly. So I'm very curious to kind of just see that played as a character in a story dynamic. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see.
I hope that they're just like they feel unique, and it's not just like a palette swap.
The guns are the exact same, and it looks like
I know
they
the
play
guns will
exactly
feel, but,
the
like,
same.
Is it like a Mario and Luigi situation where like Mario has a floatier jump and he can jump a little bit higher, like, because they actually feel distinct to play, whereas is this just a palette swap? She has a funny voice.
I'd be willing to bet they probably are going to have far more in common, because like the new abilities that kind of come in a Ratchet and Clank game is all about the weapons. It's all about the weapons and how those upgrade. Maybe they'll have different types of upgrades. I could see that. But I feel like they'll probably be pretty similar. That's my guess, at least. But I don't mind. That doesn't bother me.
Dope. Also in Sony news, this came out of nowhere and felt like it was unprompted. But The Last of Us Part 3 has a plot, but it's not being made yet, says Joe Screbbles on IGN. Neil Druckmann just came out one day and said, "You know what? Yeah, we have a plot made for Part 3, and hopefully it sees the light of day. Hopefully it gets made one day, but who knows." Here's the exact quote. "We've now had 2 games that I feel speak to something universal, as well as telling a very personal story for these characters. With one game, there's no pattern of what a franchise is. With two games, now there's starting to be a pattern. Now I feel like there are some structural and thematic themes you'd have to stick to if you're making a third game. This could possibly happen. This might not happen. Do we want this to happen?
Yes.
You do?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I view the ending of part 2 as like the dark Empire Strikes Back second part that just ends super dark. And I do think there's
just so dark.
I think there is the potential for a happy ending at the end of Last of Us Part 3, and I really want to see them do that, and I want to cry my eyes out when it happens. Every game, Part 1 and 2, without getting into spoilers, but every game is about the impact of losing your family or losing your purpose. And a lot of that ties into family. And this game ended with, well, I won't say it, but it ends with a big moment of that theme, basically. And a character realizing that impact. I think it's as vague as I can get, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about if you've played the game. And I feel like Part 3 could very much be about getting that family back and kind of concluding the trilogy with getting the family together. I'm trying to be super vague here because I don't want to ruin Part 2 for anyone. Getting the band back together. But I feel like there is a lot of opportunity for struggle to get to that point when it comes to Ellie and what the Fireflies might still be able to offer and what she kind of views as her purpose in her life. And that dynamic is still in play because she was going out for revenge, but was not confronted with her family and her earlier purpose. And so I feel like that could be a really awesome dynamic to see in a Part 3 that I really hope that they continue in a Part 3 and surprise me and show me something that I wasn't expecting, because that was what was so good about Part 2 was it kind of kept the themes but didn't necessarily it was a very surprising story. Steven says, "Oh my God, spoilers, Holden." I didn't spoil anything. I think I was very careful. But correct me if I'm wrong. I'm terrible at spoilers, so.
Well, you did say getting the band back together, and we all know that there was a band, and that Abby played trombone.
Ellie played tuba.
Yep. Tuba. God, that one tuba scene just broke my heart.
Joel played the metal triangle.
Yes, there was someone else who played a leather triangle, but Joel played the metal one.
No, the little metal triangle.
Yeah, no, we got it.
Okay.
I don't want this.
You know, I definitely heard that as metal triangle, as in like metal music.
I right now, my brain says, don't do it. Don't make Last of Us Part 3. Like, the ending of Last of Us Part 2, I have my ideas of what happened. I felt like Ellie's gotten some closure. She's ready to move on and be at peace. And then, so I'm like, I don't want another game. I like how this ended. And then I remember I said the same exact thing about Last of Us Part 1 when they announced Last of Us Part 2. And I was like, I don't want it. I want my journey with Joel and Ellie, and I wanted it to end like it did. And then it turns out 2 was like the best thing that's ever happened in humankind. So I trust them. It's my feelings with the MCU now. Like, whatever Naughty Dog does, it's going to be amazing. I trust them. So they're going to make it. First of all, that franchise also is not dead. There's no way that they're going to let that IP just completely die with The Last of Us Part 2. They've got the show coming out. They're apparently working on a remake of the first one. Like, that and Uncharted, there's no way they're dead.
As if Neil Druckmann would go to Sony and say, "Hey, we want to make Part 3 of one of the best games ever." And Sony would go, "I mean, can you just go back to Jak and Daxter instead or something?" Sony is probably begging them to make the Part 3.
Yep. So that might or might not happen. Neil's just like, yeah, we've got an idea. Let's see. Moving on to our Microsoft Quest log, a nice little a little nod here from Microsoft to developers. It says Microsoft reduces its cut for games on Windows Store to 12%, says Jeff Grubb from VentureBeat. So starting August 1st, anytime that you buy a game on the Windows Store, that will be 12% of that will now go to Microsoft instead of 30%, which means the remaining difference between the two, which Quick Math tells us is 18%, is now also going to go back to the developer. So pretty great to see there. Again, kind of following in Epic's footsteps with the Epic Game Store. If you're curious more about the Epic Game Store and the whole Apple lawsuit, go watch The Grind, which we just uploaded to YouTube on Friday. Goes real in depth with that stuff. Pretty eye-opening stuff. But this here on Microsoft, I think that's a pretty good move, especially to kind of keep on pace and put the pressure on Steam here on PCs. What are your thoughts?
It is. I think this is actually going to be. I'm curious how this impacts Epic Game Store, because as to kind of spoil the ground a little bit, Epic Game Store is not doing super well, and I wonder if this could kind of take away some of that thunder from them, because it is kind of like one of the big things about Epic Game Store is you're giving more money to the developer on that. I think that's gonna be very interesting to see play out. And this is just in the PC space, so I wonder if that still puts pressure on Steam to reduce their cut, because they've already done the 20% and it kind of works up to 30% based on how much money the game makes. But I'd be really, really curious to see that too, because if this doesn't work, and because right now the Windows Store is not necessarily a hot place to buy apps or games.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And if a developer sees that they're still not selling as much on Windows Store, they'll still put their game there, but it puts no pressure on Steam to change the 30% cut, because a developer's still going to go there, because even if there's a 30% cut, they'll still make more money being on Steam than they would being on Epic Game Store and Windows Store. So this is going to be really easy to see, or really interesting to see play out. And additionally, too, I hadn't put this in the notes because I saw this too late in the day, but not Epic Game Store, Xbox is also apparently thinking about going to a 12% cut for the console as well, which that would be a huge change too. So lots of interesting things at play here on that.
Yeah. I think there's not enough to make an impact on Steam's... Steam has, for better or for worse, a monopoly for the PC gaming space. There are other stores, obviously, but I don't think this is enough to put pressure on them to make any other significant changes to their model. Just because, as you mentioned, Microsoft Game Store is not a hot place for people to go buy games right now. And in fact, it's not even a hot place for Microsoft to put support in, as we can see that Game Pass Ultimate for PC is not anywhere nearly as well supported as the console counterpart. Hopefully this is a start of a change for that, of making gaming on PC via the Microsoft Store a better place, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't have a ton of faith in it. But it's a good move for developers.
Yeah, I mean, and to be one thing too is this definitely means that the price of games is still going to remain exactly the same. That's not changing. The savings will not be passed on to consumers. It will 100% be just absorbed by developers. I don't have a problem with that personally, but something as well to kind of keep in mind with all this. Companies like money.
I see what you did there. You set us up for a great transition into third-party quest log. EA microtransactions presentation leaked. Company responds, says Armena Khan at PlayStation Lifestyle. Holden, I haven't had a chance to actually look at this one in depth. Would you mind taking us through this real quick?
Yeah, so there was a 54-slide presentation that leaked to CBC News, not to be confused with CBS News. It is CBC News, and it was leaked by an EA insider. The only slide that was shared by CBC says that FIFA Ultimate Teams, which features kind of card pack loot boxes, is the, quote, cornerstone of FIFA. The EA stated goal is apparently to drive as many players to FIFA Ultimate Teams as possible, and then this kind of returns back to this kind of big conversation we've been having lately on, are loot boxes gambling, and is this something that should be regulated, especially if companies are pushing for this heavily? EA responded. I'll read their full statement. They said, "We always look for opportunities to introduce more players to modes in our games. Our FIFA players are expecting fresh content that makes the service exciting. So that's a constant focus for us. We do not push people to spend in our games. Where we provide that choice, we are very careful not to promote spending over earning in the game. And the majority of FIFA players never spend money on in-game items." Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on this issue personally. I don't have like a firm position on it. I have an idea. I'm curious what you guys think, but I'm very conflicted on this whole loot box issue.
Yeah, I don't usually partake in loot boxes. I don't like the pay to win strategy, and I mean, same reason I don't buy. Well, I say don't buy lottery tickets or scratch off, but my wife did buy me a Frogger one yesterday. So, won $2.
Woo!
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that I can't remember the quote you put, but they said, our players expect change or whatever. I'm like, well, yeah, except your Switch players who just get the same game every year with a new number on it. But yeah, I don't really partake in loot boxes, so
I don't usually either.
They do the same with Madden, and where they say a majority, but from what I've noticed with the Madden, I don't play the FIFA games, but the Madden games, they are advertising the Ultimate Teams everywhere.
Yeah.
So I assume it's the same with FIFA.
Yeah, and they even they admit in their own statement here that most people don't buy loot boxes. They don't take part in the microtransactions. Most people never put a penny into it. But it's the very small percentage of people who do put a lot into it. It doesn't surprise me that EA is trying to drive more people to it, because that's a very EA thing to do. I know they're trying to make good with things like Jedi Fallen Order and say, oh, it's a single-player only game and no microtransactions. And they're trying to promote that image a little bit more. But there's also something to keep in mind that these types of presentations and pitches go on internally all the time. And they're sometimes they are specifically for the use of saying, hey, I have this 54 slide presentation. I would love for me to give this to you and then get your feedback on it. What in here sounds like a ridiculous idea? What in here absolutely sucks? What should we keep moving forward?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily this is an internal presentation that was leaked by CBC News, or leaked to CBC News, but it might not necessarily be 100% their strategy. It might just be hey, here's some options. What should we be doing? What should our strategy be going forward?
Yeah. Andrew Wilson, the CEO, could look at this and go, hey, FIFA Ultimate Teams is doing so well right now. Maybe we should invest in this other part of the company and bolster profits there instead. And that might be a conversation they're having. I'm not surprised that they'd be hugely interested in microtransactions and loot boxes. I think that it's obvious why they would want to be incentivized in that. But I think it's a good point, Chad. I hadn't even considered that this might not even be an approved, thing. This could just be someone who wants to work up the chain is I need to impress Andrew Wilson. So I made this presentation.
Right, exactly. It could just be some guy who's you know what? This is going to be my ticket to a promotion. I'm going to make this thing about how we can milk the shit out of microtransactions. And then that just happens to be the thing that CBC News gets their hands on.
Yeah.
Is that how it got leaked? He was so low down, he just didn't have the right email address, just sent it the wrong way.
He was hoping Andrew Wilson would see it in the news and go, great idea, and then bring him in for a meeting. So my kind of where I'm on the fence on this one is I totally understand the concern of people who spend too much money on loot boxes. I think that is a real problem. How much of that is that individual needs to learn how to spend their money better versus EA is incentivizing them in unfair ways that are malicious and nefarious. Kind of what is that balance there? Every time I look at loot boxes, though, I don't think of gambling as much as I think of Pokemon cards. and like we've done trading cards like this for and I'm curious to get your perspective on this, Jeffrey, because I didn't do a lot of trading cards as a kid, but it feels like it's very similar to that. You spend a few bucks, you open it up, you don't know what you're going to get. You're probably going to get total crap, but you're going to keep buying the card packs over and over and over again. And so I looked up today like how many Pokemon cards there are. In the US, there's like over 9,000 Pokemon cards, and I think it's like around $5 per pack. So you could be spending like to get all the, like assuming every pack gives you a new card, you could be spending like tens of thousands of dollars to like get all these Pokemon cards. Is that malicious? How is loot boxes different than that? I'm not saying anything definitive. I'm just kind of putting thoughts out there and like kind of posing questions because I really want to find out like, is this really gambling or is this something that we've already established for a long time? But Jeff, I'm kind of curious your perspective on that.
You know, I've gone back and forth with the loot boxes versus trading cards, but I think the difference there is, at least with trading cards, you're getting something physical for it. You have to, you know, and the thing with loot boxes that I think a lot of people are having different issues with is there's a lot of parents out there that don't know how to lock down their child's accounts. You know, their kid gets their credit card went and they're like, hey, Dad, can I get this, use your card to buy this game? He's like, sure, puts it in. Dad doesn't realize that now the account just has it on there and the kid just starts buying loot boxes whenever he wants them. So I think that's where people are having the biggest issue with it, are the, you know, the possibility that kids are gambling and spending money on stuff like that just to get in, not being guaranteed what they're going to get.
Yeah, that's a good point because you're not going to go to Target, for example, and the kid's going to just grab dad's credit card out of his wallet and buy 50 Pokemon card packs and get out of the store without being caught. Like, that's not going to happen.
Nowadays,
that's a really good
try going to
point,
Target and getting one Pokemon card pack. It's a pain in the butt.
Interesting. All right. I think that Hearthstone handles it well. Hearthstone, I don't know how EA handles it specifically, but I think Hearthstone handles it well because I'm pretty sure you get something new each time. And if you get something that you don't need, you can like condense them down and trade that in for a card you do want. And I think that's kind of a better way of handling it because that kind of, I get that it's still not, it's not still like a physical tangible object. In terms of digital stuff, I don't think that'll ever be resolved. It's always going to be digital. But I think it's at least a better way of handling it. I think it's all about, I don't think loot boxes will ever go away. But I think it's all about kind of figuring out how it can be more fair.
Matt in the chat says, if trading cards are loot boxes, then I have a severe Magic the Gathering loot box problem. Oh, man. I got in big with Magic the Gathering. Got all the way through the ninjutsu stuff, made a whole ninja deck, and then I said, stop it. Stop it. And I gave them all away.
Engaged Family Gaming saying it's not. Are you saying it's not like trading cards? I'm curious your perspective, Stephen, on that.
Yeah, I think what Stephen's saying there is that it's not an issue of whether or not it's gambling. It's just that people don't like it, and they're trying to relate it to gambling in order to get it to stop.
No, earlier I was talking. He said it's not. I did my loot box trading card comparison. He said it's not. I wasn't sure what part he was saying it's not to.
He was saying
so
it's
like his take
snot. But it's difficult to hear the difference.
Loot boxes are snotty and awful. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let's move on real quick to our fetch quests. Our last little part here before we get into some fun stuff. Fetch quests are little tiny headlines that don't have a whole lot of meat to them, but they're worth mentioning. The first one here is, here's May 2021 Xbox Live games with gold, says Zach Sveitzen at Kotaku. And another wonderful record month for Xbox Live games with gold. You get Armello, Dungeons 3, Lego Batman the video game, and Tropico 4.
I just want to call out Dungeons 3 as maybe one of the worst video game names I've ever seen.
Right?
It would like be calling like a platformer platform. It's just so generic.
By contrast, PlayStation Plus offers Battlefield 5 Wreckfest in May, says Michael McWhorter at Polygon. Yeah, we get Battlefield 5 Wreckfest and Stranded Deep. Much better lineup. I'm excited to play Battlefield 5's campaign. Maybe some multiplayer too if people are down for it, but be excited for that. But
I mean,
They don't have Game Pass.
I'm excited to play some Wreckfest on the PS5 because it's the PS5 version, just to see.
Yep.
As
We
I
also
said, told my friend, I was just gonna say I'll probably play a couple races, be like, I'm not good at this, and never play it again.
Right. It might be a Destruction All Stars kind of thing where we play it for a night and realize I don't want this anymore. God, that Sony did me a solid by not letting me pay $70 for that game. Next up, Incredible Time Loop Adventure Outer Wild could be getting DLC, says Joe Screbbles on IGN.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I'm so excited. I have no idea. I have no idea how that's going to work because
With the nature of that game, it feels like that DLC is not a thing.
well, yeah, because like the whole thing is the entire universe or entire galaxy you're exploring is all one big puzzle, and everything relates to that puzzle. I can't imagine putting new content in that world and it not be just unbelievably fucking confusing, just based on the nature of how that game works. But if it's a new area, totally on board with it. The best part and the part of Outer Wilds that makes it incredible is that you can only play it once you've beaten it. You can never play it again because the game is all based on the knowledge you learn while playing it. Once you have the knowledge, you can't play that game. It's not like collecting the hookshot to go to this one area. You already have the hookshot. It's in your head. So you can't play the game again. So having the opportunity to play it again, I could not be happier. I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's one of the most memorable gaming experiences I've ever had. It's a rumor, but both Annapurna and Mobius Digital retweeted the rumor with like the shifty eye like emoji. So it's real. It's
the
happening.
Eyes that say,
oh man,
are we playing Destiny tonight? Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is getting a next-gen version this summer, says Eric Van Allen at Destructoid, and this would be the actually second round of next-gen enhancements that it gets. Still won't go back and play it. PS5 has outsold the PS4 in its first fiscal year on sale, says Joe Screbbles at IGN. So the PS5 has sold 7.8 million units in the same time that it took the PS4 to sell 7.6 million units. And Sony expects to sell an additional 7 million consoles the rest of the year. I guarantee you that number would be higher if Sony could literally make more of the system. But it's cool to see that
bad
they are
timing.
doing well.
COVID-wise, all that.
Yeah, it is interesting with how hard it is to get how many people are able to get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
still really, really hard to find for a lot of people. I'm still seeing the Wario 64 notifications, and
Yep.
people are having trouble.
I lucked out. I found it at work one day, and I started clicking, and then my boss was giving me a weird look because I took a lap around the office. I'm like, you won't understand, but something huge just happened.
I think they understand. I have my PS5 on display in my background here, and anytime I take a work meeting and someone like for the first time I'm meeting them, they're like, "Oh my God, you have a PS5? How did you get that? I've been trying to get one for months." I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool." I had a really stressful night back in September, and then a stressful 2 months leading up to launch, but I'm cool.
Oh, we have Dallas and Matt 100% to thank for that. Without them letting us know they were available, at least for me, like they said it was at GameStop, I hauled ass to GameStop immediately. Like in the middle of dinner, I just got, I'm like, Mom, I'm leaving, bye. Just like left.
Well, that was me at work. I'm like, oh, it's going on. I'm clicking and I'm there. And one of my coworkers is actually not the person I'm supervising. And they're like, what's going on? I go, there's a place there. And I go, it's in there.
This is a shocking one for me, but I think Holden called it. Starfield could be releasing soon, according to new copyright reservations, as Rachel Fittis at DualShockers. There's a person on YouTube named Mr. Matty Plays that found that Starfield has a 2021 copyright on it. Are we going to see more of this E3 with Microsoft's press conference?
It's happening, and Matt's totally going to win on that one with the fantasy draft, because that's going to bring in good
That'll
points.
bring him into the positive, maybe. And then finally on our Fetch Quest list report, Hitman Dev IO making fantasy IP for Microsoft. It says Alex Calvin at PC Games Insider. Allegedly, the game is going to be set in some large medieval world with dragons. Cool. What has IO Interactive ever done aside from Hitman? I really don't know what else is in their catalog that might make them the appropriate dev for something like this.
Oh, they also did Hitman Blood Money. They also did Hitman Absolution. They also did Hitman.
That makes sense because dragons kill things, make blood, and they usually, especially in Middle Earth, guard a bunch of money, like Smaug.
I actually want to look this up because I'm curious. There might be like one small thing that they've done in the past, maybe?
Guerrilla Games did, what's the Hellgast game? Killzone. They did Killzone for years and years and years, and then suddenly broke out with Horizon Zero Dawn, and it was awesome. So It's not that IO Interactive couldn't.
Like James Bond makes complete sense as like a deviation from what they're currently doing. Fantasy, I'm actually really curious what they do with fantasy because one thing that IO Interactive is really good at is creating these little spaces where it feels like alive and it's believable, like the little environment they've created. It feels like a real place. And I would like to see what they can do with that in a fantasy environment, but like large open world. I'm assuming it's open world at least if it's a large medieval world. That's a big change for them. They also did Kane and Lynch.
Kane and Lynch. I remember that game.
And of course, how could I have forgotten? They also made Mini Ninjas. You guys don't remember that classic?
Is that the game on iOS with the tiny ninja that you can like teach things and it was adorable as hell that came out like 5 years ago?
No, I think that was a 360 game.
Oh.
Yeah, it was on iOS as well. It was on Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, Wii 360, Nintendo DS, OS 10. Oh, actually, sorry, it was not on mobile. I just saw OS 10 and it jumped to... No, actually, I take that back. It was. That's weird. On Wikipedia, on one side, they don't mention iOS, but up in the top of the main description, they do mention it. So, yeah, it was on there. It's a third-person action-adventure game.
This game. What is it? He's so adorable. There's a little ninja kid, and you just you train him. You pop balloons and stuff. What is it? Clumsy Ninja. Clumsy Ninja. Yes, look it up. It's adorable. It's basically it's like a Tamagotchi, but with a little ninja. Next up, that's the end. That's the end of our fetch quest. We're going to jump into a subscriber interrogative. Shout out to DF and Smitty. D Smitty Games on Twitter. Dallas. D Money. DD Pickles. Shout out to Dallas for a subscriber interrogative. He asks us, you suddenly have unlimited time and you could play any games in your backlog to completion. He wrote competition, but I think he means completion. What 3 games are you playing first? I have an answer, and it's not the answer you want to hear. I'm going to play God of War 2018 all the way through again. I'm going to play The Last of Us Part 2 all the way through and get the Platinum Trophy again. I'll probably play Ratchet and Clank for PS4 to prepare for PS5.
Okay. Ratchet and Clank, I gotta shut down there. Ratchet and Clank, totally, it's a backlog game. You've beaten it. It's not a backlog game if you've already beaten it. No way.
It is a backlog because
that's what distracts you from your backlog.
No, those are the games that God, I really want to do this, but I can't justify the time to go back and do this when there are so many other games. If I had, and the Platinum Trophy is 100% a backlog item. So Platinum for Last of Us 2. And then I'll just pretend I haven't platinumed God of War already.
This is a hard one.
I don't accept.
What's your answer, Holden?
No, Jeffrey's about to go. You can get Jeffrey.
No, I don't think I don't know. I'm looking behind me. What do I have? I don't know. I have so many games back there that I haven't beaten.
Yeah, it's tough to narrow down the backlog.
All right, I would put Assassin's Creed Valhalla in there.
Okay.
I did just beat that a couple weeks ago. not going into spoilers, but most
I wouldn't be happy
anticlimactic
about it.
ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I'm like, wait, what? But I'd probably have to put on like Final Fantasy 3, especially since I have all the time in the world because my version, the save state is dead. So after like 6 hours, it deletes itself. So I've never beaten it. So which means I could go through. I guess I have an SNES Mini that it's on as well. So, but with all the time in the world, I'd actually go through and beat that game because I did like what I have played of that game.
But according to Holden's rules, you can't play it because you've already played it before.
No,
even if you didn't
he
beat
hasn't
it the
beaten
first
it though.
time.
He hasn't beaten it though. That's different. That's totally different. Because one of mine follows that rules, therefore I have to accept it. We will talk about Final Fantasy 3 in a little bit, actually, when we get to We Are So Fucking Humble. So I kind of kept in mind, like, I have a limited time. What are games that I don't want to just play? I want to, like, absolutely devour and, like, just really sink my teeth into. Ghost of Tsushima. The number one reason why I don't go back and play that game is knowing I've already started playing that game with the intention of doing every side quest and just doing everything I can in that game because I really, really liked it. So if I have a limited time, awesome. I can do it guilt-free. Excuse me. It'd be great. Number 2, Hitman 2. Because I have not gone back to play Hitman 2, even though I started it a little bit. But that game is a really good game to go back and replay levels over and over again and try to find things you couldn't have done because you didn't know like one little thing about one person walking around whatever environment it is. That's a great game to kind of sink my my teeth into. And then Return of the Obra Dinn. I really want to play the game. Everyone tells me because I like Outer Wilds so much, I probably would like Return of the Obra Dinn. And the thing about a game like Outer Wilds is that it just takes time to beat because you have to like really break down the world and understand the world and like think about the world, and those games are best when you can just take your time and like ponder it and consider it. So I feel like if I had limited time, that's the best way to play a game like that.
I really want to play Return of the Obra Dinn too. It's been I've just been procrastinating on it and I haven't bought it yet. Also on my list, I'd have to add in Picross 4, 5, and 6 for the Switch because they keep making them faster than I can complete them. I'm still trying to finish 3.
I only put the first one and I liked it, but I'm like, it's too much. It's too much.
Oh, you have to wait until you get to the ones where it doesn't give you any hints, and then I do the cheat of I'm stuck, so I just fill in all the boxes and hit check. Because it only lets you do it once. And then I take a screenshot of my Switch. So I'm not... I get to a point sometimes where I have to use my cheat, but...
That's hilarious.
Okay,
I was
Holden,
really harsh on
I
the
thought
chat.
about it.
I'm sorry I was so harsh on you on that.
I thought about it. I've got a new Holden's rules to Dallas's question answer for you.
Oh, no. I am holding you to Dallas's rules.
No, you are not the enforcer. Here's my updated answer. I would not have a great time, I don't think, but they are 3 games that I am really curious about how they end and why I don't like playing them. And that is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that is Death Stranding, and that is Ghost of Tsushima. And those are the 3 games that I would play to completion, and I would probably be like, I wish I played Last of Us Part 2 or God of War instead.
Death Stranding is a good call out because I don't think just walking for 5 gazillion hours as the level, and that's the whole level, would bother me as much if I
We're getting ready to play Red Dead Redemption 2, so...
No, that's a great game.
We're going to just ride a horse for hours.
No, but you're having a great conversation with someone with life and character, and not the same thing at all. You're not holding a dumb baby and avoiding ink on the ground.
That baby is smart. It can give thumbs up. It can cry.
Yeah, only smart babies can cry. No other babies can cry.
I would also have to add Grand Theft Auto San Andreas to my list.
Ooh.
Because, so I have them on my PS4. I 100% Vice City. Didn't get the platinum, but I 100% it. And then I went to do San Andreas and those stupid police missions. So I did the cheat to get the tank. And then I found out that doing a cheat makes it so you can't get any achievements.
Oh.
So then I quit playing and just lost all motivation. In Vice City, I did the cheats and it still let me get the achievements. But in San Andreas, they took that out.
One of the things I can say, a spoiler for the barf coming up in a couple of days, one of the things I can say I appreciated about Final Fantasy IX is that I could turn on all the cheats and still earn all the trophies, and it was wonderful. All right. We've got a segment that we do periodically when we have a guest on the show called We Are So Fucking Humble, because Holden and I, we know how to take a backseat and make our guests feel welcome. So, Jeff, we're extending an opportunity for you to bring up something you would like for us to discuss. And it sounds like you have something prepared.
Yes, so with Returnal coming out, I did not get it because I do not like roguelike games. And it got me to thinking of, is there a genre of game or a type of game, or even a game in general that you don't like, but you wish you did like? Because with me, it is definitely roguelikes. And also first-person shooters, because I feel like if I really loved first-person shooters, I'd be happy with games all the time because there's so many of them coming out. But especially with the roguelikes, like, I have not found one that I like. I played a little bit of Moonlighter. I beat the first dungeon, then I'm like, I hate going back and forth. I tried Slay the Spire. I hate doing the same thing over and over again. So I have just finally decided that those games are not for me.
Yeah, the resetting and going back to the very beginning is like the one. I haven't done a lot of roguelikes, but it's the one aspect that kind of turns me off to the genre. I'd say it's the one thing. Actually, it's the only thing about Returnal that makes me not want to play it.
But there's so much about Returnal that like you get to keep, or like you've unlocked a new type of weapon when you progress. Therefore, you can find that weapon in the first area now when you couldn't before. So. There's a lot of good stuff in it. You should play it. Just fucking play it. Play it, you coward.
Yeah, I definitely understand the roguelike concern. It's a tricky genre for sure.
I'm there with you on roguelikes as well, because I came to this realization actually when I was on Dusty's podcast, Shouting into the Void. What is it? Fuck.
Shouting
into the Void. Yeah. Shouting into the Void.
Shouting into the Void. Yeah.
Shouting in place.
Shouting in place, that's it. I was like, yeah, that didn't sound... Shouting in place, yes, thank you. When I was on his podcast, and I realized, like, I don't like to fail. I don't like to look dumb. I don't like to fail. And I don't like dying in video games. And that's all roguelikes are. I played Rogue Legacy. That's the only one I can think off the top of my head. But yeah, it's just like, and Binding of Isaac, it's like, you're just going to fail over and over and over, and you're going to restart. And it's like, I want to feel like I'm progressing and getting better and achieving things, not like I suck all the time.
That's what roguelikes do. And
but
you
know
can't
what else?
learn anything because it's like Dark Souls. You'll fail, but you go back and do the same thing again, so you can apply new knowledge to it. Whereas roguelike, it's like, you failed, and doesn't matter what you did because you're going to fail again with a totally new set of obstacles that you didn't see before. It kind of piles on at a certain point.
Yep. But you know what else? I've realized in my old age of 31 that I don't like puzzle games, that I really, really don't like puzzle games. But I do wish that I did like puzzle games, because I feel like there are so many experiences that people love, like Return of the Obra Dinn or The Witness or Outer Wilds. Like all of these games that like it just takes a lot of thought and piecing things together and critical thinking in weird abstract ways to put these like I know when I've had those things in the past and I make that revelation, I'm like, oh my God, it's been this the whole time. That was so brilliant. I can't believe that happened. Like those kinds of moments are really, really cool. And I wish I enjoyed the process of getting to them, because there's, as I mentioned, there's so many things that people love, those games included, that I feel like I'm missing out on because I just can't fucking stand the solving the puzzle part.
Yeah, it's. I totally like. It's all right, I'm going to spoil something about Outer Wilds because I think this is like that reminded me like one moment in particular. There's this one planet you go to called Dark Bramble, and you like go into this like it's basically the world looks like a giant walnut with all these roots coming out of it, and you go inside the walnut. It's not actually a walnut, but it reminds me of that. And you go inside of like this like walnut, and then it's just all like foggy inside, and then there are these huge like monstrous fish with giant teeth in the fog.
Are you describing a vagina?
And when you go in, they immediately attack you and eat you. And that's it. You have to start over again and fly back. And you just keep trying. It's like, what the hell? I can't like do this. I have no idea what to do. And then I found a skeleton of one of them on this other planet. And there was a marking there. And it said, oh, the children like to play this game where they pretend to be one. I can't remember what they call them. Like, we'll call them bramblefishes. Where they pretend to be a bramblefish. And it's the kid who represents the bramblefish has to put blindfolds on, and then you they have to listen to the sounds around to find the other kids that are hiding. And I'm like, oh, they're blind. They're hearing me because I come barreling in on my rocket ship, and I'm like flying in super fast. And so I just have to go in super quiet. So instead, you just go in and you don't move your ship at all. You just slowly hit the thruster to like propel yourself just a little bit and slowly make your way through. So it's barreling through, and it's like that was impossible to like figure out. But when you do, and it's like but there's like the frustration, the hatred of yourself, like before you get to that moment. Sorry, just that reminded me. I said spoilers. Engaged Family Gamer Steven got mad at me for saying spoilers, but I said spoilers. I called it out. Sorry for that long rant.
It's all right. If you haven't played that game, it's not like it's going to make sense to you anyway. You described some vagina with a fish on the inside, and
it's a blind vagina.
They call that a chastity belt.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we all just hate roguelikes.
Yeah,
I hate puzzle games.
Yeah. And for me, it's JRPGs. That's like I can't go quite as far as to say. I think you guys don't like roguelikes and puzzle games more than I don't like JRPGs. I'll play one. I just played Final Fantasy IX. I didn't hate it or loathe it or anything. But like, I feel like my problem with JRPGs is, despite being super, super fucking long, you'll come across this huge epic moment in a game where like you fight this monster that has the capability of destroying the entire universe. Like you fight Thanos, and then the next level is, hi, I lost 3 cats. Can you run through this town and help me find my 3 cats? And I'm like, I want to know what's going to happen with that huge Thanos guy I just fought. And because I couldn't beat him and I was out in the world, and you want me to find cats? Like, fuck you. Like, there are far more important things to do right now. And it's just this constant thing with like JRPGs where the stakes are always so high, and then the characters are like, did you want to like go find water? Oh, but the water is dirty. Maybe if you go down this, path over here, we can go find clean water. I'm like, I don't care about water right now. Like, why are you making me this whole hour-long mission to find water? And it's like a common thing I find in JRPGs, but not Final Fantasy III. Final Fantasy III, I told you we're going to come back to that. Final Fantasy III is fantastic. No cats.
No cats engaged is always a good quality.
It was just awesome from beginning to end. And it was a really, really good JRPG. So there are exceptions to this, but the vast majority of JRPGs I find kind of fall into my frustration, like that kind of pressure point for me, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. The 3 cats was a specific reference to Chapter 8 of that game. Screw it. I'm not going back.
I mean, I feel like that's a trope in just video games now. Like, even Valhalla has all those weird side stories that have nothing to do. Like, one of the side quests of Valhalla was I just had to buy this goat statue from this girl.
100%. The difference, though, is that that's a side story, whereas Final Fantasy will make it the main, story, and, you have to do it. Oh, Steven asked a good question. He said 3 meaning 6. 3 meaning 3, because I think this was the DS version, and it was
I was talking about 6. Sorry.
No worries. Don't apologize. Square Enix needs to apologize for that one.
I mean, all my life I always counted 1, 2, 3, 7, and until my teachers told me I was wrong.
That's all right. I didn't learn how to read till I was 9, apparently. So So Holden hates JRPGs, which means tomorrow's conversation about Final Fantasy
Should've-
IX is going to be real fun.
I was going to say, should have seen me in high school when I kept having to argue with my math instructor that 10-2 comes after 10.
And he's trying to tell you it's 10 squared. It's 10 squared, not 10-2.
There's no carrot in that. There's no little carrot there. It's a 2.
Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that topic of conversation. We have one last part of our show before we finish up, and it is called Game On Game Show. The game on our gaming show, we play a game called Game On. The gaming show on a game show. Game. This week, we have something we haven't played in maybe well over a year. It is video game Would You Rather. Returnal Old Faithful. It's been a long time. Actually, it looks like maybe Microsoft Flight Simulator, whenever that came out, it looks like that was the last question that we asked here on this Would You Rather. So I've got 3 video game Would You Rather questions. They are all appropriately Pokemon themed, thanks to Jeff's presence here on the podcast this week. And we're just going to go through and talk about which one of these we'd rather do and why. So we're going to start with, oh, you know what? I forgot I used to make these dirty and weird. So these are all kind of normal. We're going to start with the first one, which is, would you rather have a cat that talks, but it's an asshole? Or would you rather have the coolest pet dragon that won't do anything that you say? Although technically he's a fire-flying type and not a dragon type, which is always weird to me.
The cat talks, but the dragon doesn't. He's just a dragon.
The dragon's just a dragon. It's a play at, Meowth, who can talk for some reason, and then Charizard, who in the anime, he disobeys everything.
I got your references.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
I mean, it's really hard because Charizard, if it wasn't for it being an anime, he'd kill someone.
Yeah. But also that cat's actually an asshole. And it will yell at your neighbors and shit and say things that are offensive and get you in trouble. And it might do that thing where it's like, "Hi, I'm Jeff, and I think you're stupid." And then you're like, "I didn't say that, it was the cat." And they're like, "Yeah, fucking right, it's a cat." And then suddenly you go to jail.
So part of this cat being an asshole is you're really the only one who knows he talks. Not because you're the only one who can hear him, but he makes sure that you're the only one who hears him.
It's an asshole thing to do, and he's an asshole cat.
That totally changes things for me, because I was going to totally agree 100% agree with Jeff on that dragon could burn the house down. But sometimes your whole neighborhood hating you is burning the house down. So
yeah, right?
This changes things. Like let's say I call into work and I'm like,
I'm sorry, continue.
Let's say I call into work and I'm like, "Hey boss, I'm just not feeling really good today." And then my cat's like, "He feels fine. Breath of the Wild 2 came out today. And he's going to play that all day long." I would be really pissed.
I mean,
and here's Go ahead, Jeff. You go ahead.
I was going to say, with the neighbors, I'll be perfectly honest. We have this one neighbor who we don't think cares for us because our dogs bark at his dog. How much more mad would he be if I had my 3 dogs and a dragon?
So this is a world where dragons exist in this hypothetical. And if there are procedures to get a snake and defang the snake, there are procedures to get a dragon and make sure it can't breathe fire. I'm going to go with dragon.
What the fuck is the point of the dragon? You might as well just get a parakeet.
I don't want it to breathe fire. I can light my own grill just fine without a dragon to help me out with it.
Well, then you shouldn't have gotten a dragon. You should have gotten a bird.
Well, the other option is a evil cat that will ruin the
That's right. Sorry, I forgot that you didn't have a choice.
He forgot his own game. I'd have to go with the dragon too, because for one, I hate cats.
Yeah, me too. I don't like cats either.
I like other people's cats, but This cat didn't talk, but when I first got married with my wife, she did have an asshole cat. It did not like the fact that I moved in and would poop only under my bed. So I've lived with that.
I would
asshole
go dragon
cat.
as well. Yeah, asshole cats are not fun. Cats are not fun. They're not fun creatures. Dragon, some of the times it'll do some cool shit, whether or not I tell it to. And you can reverse psychology the dragon. It's not going to do what you say, but if you're like, I don't even fucking want a chili dog from Sonic right now. And they're like, oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to go get 10 chili dogs. I'm going to throw them in your face. I'm like, great, fucking do it. I bet you won't.
The other thing, too, is like having the asshole cat, because he only is an asshole to you. No one else knows he talks. People come to your house and it's just like, yeah, Holden's a cat. Like, boring. Holden's a dragon? Let's go to Holden's house. He's got a dragon.
You're going to pull so much strange with that dragon. All right, question number 2. Would you rather...
Pulling so many bramblefishes.
So many walnuts with weird vines growing out of them. All right. Would you rather have free universal veterinary care or be able to shrink your pets into a tiny, comfortable ball forever for travel?
What was the first one?
Free universal veterinary care.
That's
So AKA Poke Centers. Poke Centers being able to like heal your animals for free. Or shrink your pets into a tiny, comfortable ball for travel. It's like, oh, I want to bring my St. Bernard on a plane so we can go to Miami and have spring break. Boop. Put him in my pocket. Put him in the carry-on. And then boop, now we're on the beach.
I'd have to go with the universal pet care because vet bills are expensive.
So is flying with the St. Bernard.
So I struggle with this. So here's the thought process here. My dog right now is having some health issues. We found out that he had like a huge cancerous growth like growing by his lung. And as much as I want to say, oh, I would love just to have like health care for him always forever so he can live on forever. But like with things like that, he's just going to be in pain. And if I'm just like giving him free health care because it makes me feel better, but he's in pain, I don't really feel great about that. But what I would love is to be able to like go to a national park across the country and bring him with me and it not be a pain in the ass. So we can have great moments together during his life as opposed to like making the end of his life a little bit better.
So you can literally just take him in a box to the middle of the woods and just leave him like the old wives' tale.
That's so horrible and tragic.
That's what you just said you want to do. Be like, I just want to go take him to a national forest somewhere. And
we find out he has cancer. It plays out. When it plays out and it's bad, we go to the vet and we have to put him down.
And then that song from Toy Story 2 plays where Jessie gets abandoned by her owner. And
then later on finds Buzz Lightyear and falls in love with Buzz Lightyear.
That's it.
Yep.
Jeff, veterinary care, you said because of the money?
Yeah, though it would be great to take my dogs anywhere. It's a
really tough one.
Question, the veterinary care, because we don't know what the Pokemon centers do. Do they also provide, like, grooming? Because some vets do that.
Ooh, yeah, I would say yes. Because, like, ours will, like, trim their nails and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
And some do
That does change things.
We have one dog who needs a haircut. I'm never doing that again.
I'm going to do the shrink the pets into a tiny, comfortable ball for travel. Because then you can be like, you can take them to the mall. You can take them to the local swimming pool. You can take them to space.
What's the point if you can't take them out? They're still not allowed out there.
No, but you can get him back really quickly.
Oh.
Is your dog in the pool?
See?
No, he's not. No, I just had this beach ball, and there's a little tiny beach ball in there.
Or, oh my God, I'm out in public. My dog's about to like shit on the street. I don't have any doggy bags with me. Boop. How about you shit in the tiny ball, and then I'll let you back out, and then I can just open the ball over the trash can and dump the dookie out.
So whenever my dog goes into poop, whenever he's pooping, he always like looks back up at you.
Like, don't watch me.
And so I'm just picturing he looks up and he just sees his ball hurling at him.
You know what? Yes, I like that idea. Speaking of the dog who gets groomed every once a month, he's on a schedule. We walk into PetSmart and he poops right on the floor. On a schedule. It without fail, we walk in and we're like, oh, his name's Adam. We're like, oh, Adam's gonna poop.
He just knows. They're going to wash my butt anyway. Might as well make them work for it. All right, last question. Option 1, would you rather have a dad that abandoned you and a mom that pushes you out of the house at age 10 with no money to travel the world? Option B.
One more time with that one. That was
Option
a lot.
1, your dad abandons you. Your dad abandons you, and your mom pushes you out of the house at age 10 to travel the world by yourself with no money.
And then does she have like a little side romance with the professor that lives next door?
Yes. And then she bangs your uncle professor who gave you a Pokemon. Option B, there's a terrorist organization that follows you everywhere and tries to steal everything that all your hard work. So maybe if you're at your job and you've made a really great 54-slide presentation about how to use microtransactions to gouge people's wallets, maybe they will claim it instead of you. Or if you're a dog groomer, maybe they steal your dogs.
I think you can improve the first situation. Like you're 10 years old, you're out on your own. Go to a police station. Something will be figured out, right? You'll have a really rough beginning of your life. But you can work up and change your life. The other one, are you going to take on a terrorist organization? Fuck no. Like, there's no way that's going to happen.
If this is the Pokemon world, the police force is inept. They are so bad. It is one of our going trends that come up in our podcast all the time, how bad Officer Jenny really is.
But they would bring you to child services or something like that. Like I would hope they could do that at least.
I mean, most of the time she asks Ash to help her, this 10-year-old boy.
So I go to her and I'm like, hey, my parents abandoned me. Can you give me child services? And it's like, would you like to help me bring you to child services?
What's the way to child services? If you let me know, we'll start heading in that direction. I feel like option 1, you're dead. You're gonna die. A 10-year-old kid, you're either dead or kidnapped, and then you have a new daddy, and his name is Robin Williams, and he makes you play on the street for money. Or if a terrorist organization, they're just stealing your work. You're still gonna live at the end. Maybe you have bad anxiety and schizophrenia. There's always someone following you. They're looking for me. But like, number 1, you're either dead or you have really bad mommy-daddy issues. I don't know what's the lesser two evils there. I would go with terrorist organization. I want them to just follow me and steal my shit. Final answer. All right.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with this one, so.
Yeah.
It'll
Holden
be a
sounds like he
homeless
wants the
child
mommy
being
daddy.
chased by a terrorist organization. If you don't decide, that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Option
All right, that's
C.
it for Game on Game Show. That is it for episode 209 of Respawn Aim Fire. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us. That was really fun. I'm glad you were able to come on the show. Hopefully we'll see you back. In the meantime, if someone's listening and they're not looking in the description of the podcast or the YouTube video where we will have this information, where do they find you again?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Ranzrik, Ranzrik. And then you can find my podcast at Pokemon Snapshot. You can also find me on Twitch on Thursday nights on twitch.tv/Engage Family Gaming, where I host the Engage Family EFG pod, the EFG show along with Steven Dutzman.
Dope. Thank you. And if you are listening at home, you have homework. We're going to be doing our BARF episode. That's Backlog Accomplishment for Respawn and Friends for Final Fantasy IX, probably tomorrow night, sounds like. Which means we start a new game, Red Dead Redemption 2, for both May and June. It's a 2-monther again. So go get Red Dead Redemption 2 if you don't already have it. Play through it with us. Listen to me bitch about it at the end of June. It's going to be great. You can also go to patreon.com/respawningfire if you want to vote on our next game. So that'll be probably like mid-June when we have that up. But while you're there, you can also play with us on game nights, on Thursday nights. You can also get dope wallpapers, like there's the Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming out in May. That's this month. We have a Mass Effect-themed Respawning Fire wallpaper you can get for all your stuff. It's pretty dope. And then also, if you want to be just like Jeff and you want to be on our show as a guest, you can go to affableidiots.com. You can get a link to a survey where you can sign up to be on this show, on AAWY, and also with you, or make up a new show and put yourself on it. You have that choice. That's it, everyone. Oh, wait, also, last thing, go watch The Grind, Epic versus Apple. What's really going on? Just came out on Friday. Lots of in-depth, really great stuff. Claps to Holden for great work.
Thank you.
That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, here's our usual sign-off. Bunger, 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 bunger.